There exist an almost infinite number of ways you can realize a concept through video games. Now granted, some translate better than others, but then there exist some that are completely unique from any other art form. And NES Remix tackles one that only a veteran developer could pull off: playing to nostalgia. There are different tiers to this process. There's the infamous remaster, where you take the exact same game and just scale it to HD, the remake, where you take an old concept and work into something with more modern design philosophies, and then there's the reimagining, where you take that old product and instead of just releasing it as is with a fresh coat of paint, you tweak it to make it even better than it was before, or at least with a new spin. NES Remix falls squarely into that last category, and admittedly, at times, it does it pretty well. Does it do it $15, potentially $30 worth of well? Yeah, let's discuss that. On the surface, NES Remix 1 and 2 are like Super Mario All-Stars crossbred with WarioWare. They're collections of old NES games, but instead of playing the whole game, bits and pieces have been cut out and made into miniature challenges. The goal is to complete these challenges as fast as possible so you can earn a better ranking and thereby unlock more challenges and more games. This means a vast majority of Remix's appeal to you is going to be based on what games are included, and on that front, 2 is leagues ahead of 1. No more freaking golf here. You get the real classics like Kirby's Adventure, Super Mario Bros. 3, Punch-Out, Kid Icarus, Metroid, Zelda 2, it's a good game, I swear, Dr. Mario, and, Wario's Woods. Okay. Now while it's fine and dandy seeing how fast you can beat Kraid or collect coins, the real stars of the show here are the titular remix levels, which take these old setups and play with them in interesting, often surprisingly creative and fun ways. Problem: they are not the majority of what you'll be doing here. Most of your exploits in Remix will be playing through the micro portions of the normal games, just waiting until you unlock your next bonus level. This shouldn't feel like a chore, on the simple grounds that these games are bona fide gems in their own right, but I've come to realize that was when they stood as standalone products. Think about this. If you wanted to play these games vanilla, let alone bite-sized chunks of that vanilla, you have very convenient means of doing just that. In fact, you could afford 3 of these titles on the eShop for the same price of either NES Remix 1 or 2, and probably walk away with much more fulfilling and realized experiences. I'm all for supporting Nintendo when they try something new, but when not even a fourth of the game is what you paid for, yeah, it's gonna feel like squandered potential. Like the titles it pretends to let you play, Remix is at its best when it's doing its own thing, like giving you a boss rush against all the Koopa Kids, or playing through the original 1-1 level from Super Mario Bros. With the Super Mario Bros. 3 engine and assets. Are you one of those people saddened by the realization that it was impossible to complete Mario 3 with the frog suit? My friend, your dreams have been realized. Yeah, that was a really cool gesture on their part, wasn't it? The concept of this game is already really meta. Why not play with your concepts and do more cool fan stuff like that? Play to your audience a bit instead of putting together challenges I could emulate with 5 minutes of Google searching and some ROM editing tools. And yeah, it is cool seeing Samus and Link collecting coins and dueling with Hammer Brothers, but it's kind of undermined by the fact that I could already play the entirety of Super Mario Bros. As those characters for free. Now, I would be remiss not to mention Super Luigi Brothers, though, where you play the entire game right to left as Luigi instead of Mario. The sad part is, this is more interesting than almost the entirety of the rest of the package. Had I been offered more options to alter the original games like this in ways that let me experience them all over again, I could more than easily tell you Remix 2 is worth it. You also get a remixed version of the famous Nintendo World Championships cart, but only if you own both Remix 1 and 2. Upside? Through the miracle of the internet, you get to see just how much of a champion you really are against everyone else around the world. Downside? You're paying another $15. And you have to play pinball. Not much of a trade-off, is it? I guess what it boils down to is that it's getting harder and harder to justify people paying money for pixels these days, especially if you don't bother to apply modern design sensibilities to them. Copying an engine is one thing, but jury-rigging your system to emulate the original console's lag? As unprofessional as it sounds, that is dumb. I can guarantee you with 100% accuracy, the original teams that made these games tried to eliminate this from their products. Why leave something in that wasn't even supposed to be there to begin with? I've also been mulling over this in my head and whether or not it counts as a problem for anyone but me, but I'm just gonna come out and say it. I cannot tolerate the controls in retro platformers. They just feel stiff. It was fine when I was younger because that was the cutting edge, but nowadays I'm too far down a road where characters move 60 frames a second and can respond exactly as fast as you can think. With the exception of Mario 3 and Kid Icarus, I can't come back to games like this anymore and say they control perfectly, because they don't. They really don't. Nintendo is on to something cool here, but they're not realizing it to its fullest potential. With the exception of one joke at the end of the final remix stage, the fan service isn't even that good. I actually had more pure fanboy fun rediscovering Super Mario Crossover than I did playing both these games, and that's a really bad position for them to be in. These days, I would never accuse a company like Nintendo of half-assing a product, but, well, that's the way this comes across. This all feels like a series of missteps that would have been caught and redesigned into something bigger and better by a team that was actually paying attention. But you know what the ultimate nail in the coffin is? I've already exhausted my potential enjoyment here. I breezed through every challenge in both these titles in 3 sittings. I don't imagine myself coming back to them anytime soon because of their nature, and I think it's obvious at this point that the one trip wasn't enough to begin with. I'm out enough money to buy either Mario Golf World Tour or Kirby Triple Deluxe coming out here soon, and in no stretch of the term or context of the idea do I feel like I got that money's worth of an experience. I laughed, I cried, I threw my controller, and for a few brief moments, yes, I had fun. I just wish I hadn't paid so much for the quality of it all that I got.